I think we are now streaming on YouTube. I think we can try to begin.
Thank you very much, Carla.
Thank you, Carla. Hey, good evening. Welcome to the August 25th conference of Rezoning Update Casting. For those of you who are in person, if you could please leave your mask on during the meeting. And I think it's probably going to project a little bit so that then. Start with the roll call. Here. Leonard. Here. Sutton. Greenwood. Nickerson. Here. Cindy Shawani. Cindy Gunther.
Madam Chair, Cindy sends her apologies. She's unable to attend this meeting, and she did send me an email with some things that she would like to include in the meeting. And I can read those at the proper time. Thank you.
Here. Amazing. Here. And Tyler Brett. Here. So, we're not have meeting summary for review for the next meeting. And for anyone that's meeting, I'll just read through all of the purpose of So our purpose is to have a fair discussion on and business with the goal of summarizing task force position.
This meeting is being recorded and or transcribed.
With the goal of summarizing task force position. So we have a few brown ones that want to share their ideas freely. There are no right or wrong input for discussion. And we have a few newer people who follow just efficiently. Please keep there. Raising your hand while waiting for to follow you. Please don't interrupt each other. Please don't congregate yourselves. Please respect others' views. Keep your conversation short. Point. We'll start and end on barring any difficulties. And if you're online or on the phone, please stay and call on you. And then you can unmute. So our first item of business is old business. Are there any comments on items that have been Anyone on the phone? Please, a little hard did you raise your hand? Yeah. Or anyone in the room, raise your hand and let us know for this comment.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
This is Cindy. It's very difficult still to hear you. We can see you slightly in the left-hand side of the screen, but it may be helpful to announce the public call-in number so that if anyone's having difficulty hearing on Teams or YouTube, they can dial into the teleconference and hear. They should be able to hear clearly on the phone. It's on the agenda at the top.
The dial-in number is 239-359-359, and the conference number is 865-028-423.
Pound. Carla, this is Judy Gifford. I'm on the phone, and I can't hear Madam Chairman at all. I can hear you clearly, but we can't hear the other speakers.
We may have to play past the phone.
you're good. So, Kim, will you repeat that number?
Sure. Okay, the dial-in number is 872-239-8359, and the conference ID number 865-028-423#. All right. So hearing or seeing no comments on old business, we'll move on to new business, which is a review of the elimination of the 10% rule. And Carla, are you going to present for us?
Thank you. So yes, we had a request to review what we call the 10% rule. Just a little bit of background. This is a provision that has been in the land use ordinance since 2002 with this current ordinance that has a maximum percentage of a property that can be subdivided into lots. And we also call that, it's the 10% rule. You can include a maximum of 10% of the property into new lots. It was seen as a way to address goals and strategies of the 1996 comprehensive plan, because by 1996, large farmette subdivisions were becoming prevalent, and they were seen as detrimental to traditional agricultural operations. The comprehensive plan then and now encourages the use of agricultural land for farming and other agricultural businesses. And then the staff report lists several of those goals and strategies. I'm going to jump straight over to the review section for anybody who's following along in the staff report. So the 10% development rule can also be viewed as the 90% preservation rule. And that the subdivisions in the agricultural zoning district, and this is the only district that this applies, require that 90% of the farm be left intact. There is an exception for subdivisions where all parcels remain over 100 acres. They are exempt from that 10% rule. We did a little bit of research on subdivision activity from 1989 forward. And we can tell that establishing a maximum percentage of a property and lots has resulted in subdivisions with smaller average lot sizes in the agricultural zoning district, which has left large contiguous tracts of land undeveloped. However, the 10% rule has also limited the ability of some landowners to sell portions of their farms. So the goal of the 10% rule was to prevent the fragmentation of the AZD into 30-acre farmettes. Like I said, we've been reviewing subdivisions since 1989. And of the review that's been completed so far, we're only missing a couple of years in the late 90s. I've reviewed over 200 subdivision plats, which was almost 150 plats for the years from 1989 to 2003, and just over 60 for the years 2004 to 2019. So from 1989 to 2003, more subdivisions were for multiple lots at one time, and the lots tended to be larger. Since 2004, only one landowner has used the entire 10% for a single lot, thereby leaving development potential on the remainder. And 5 subdivisions were exempted because all parcels were over 100 acres. However, in at least one of the 100-acre subdivisions, the landowner had to sell more than the desired acreage in order to be exempt. And the 10% rule has also prevented at least one partial sale of a farm that was split by a road. The tract on one side of the road was more than 10% of the property, but less than 100 acres, and the subdivision was not permitted. We also did a quick analysis of parcel data, and there are approximately 3,000 unapproved parcels in the unincorporated areas of the county. About half of those unapproved lots are in recognized subdivisions or communities, and of the remaining parcels, over 520 have a land use of agricultural and range in size from 1 acre to almost 400 acres. Approximately 180 of these parcels are 5 to 30 acres, acres,
30 acres,
and another 80
and another 80
parcels are 31 to 50
31 to
acres.
50 acres.
So there doesn't appear to be a lack of
smaller
agricultural parcels,
agricultural
but there may be a lack of willing sellers. Setting a maximum percentage of a parcel that can be developed without providing other incentives isn't common. We asked Sean Suter with ZoneCo, who's our consultant, if he was aware of other similar regulations, and he's not. And he also opined that a limit of 10% is low. And Queen Anne's County also, for example, has an open space ratio of 0.85 for their cluster subdivisions and non-contiguous development subdivisions. Which means that for those types of subdivisions, only 15% of the property can be developed in lots, and the 85% remains open. So staff recommends that the 10% will be retained, but that we develop regulations to allow lot size to be waived by the planning commission should there be a case-by-case need to do so, such as allowing subdivisions to follow not natural boundaries or roadways, if there's a specialized agricultural operation that does not need 100 acres to be successful, if there are other unique circumstances such as estate settlements. And then, in addition, an expansion of the rural character district, which is sort of our large lot subdivision district, could be considered during the remapping if there is a desire to have additional land available for large lot subdivisions.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Carla.
So we'll
open this up for discussion. Let's start with
task
force members. Any task force members on the phone that want to comment
on the
10% rule? Hey, I don't hear or see any activity
Madam
on
Chair,
the phone.
Yes.
Bill, yes.
can you hear me?
We can.
We can?
Okay. I just wanted to let you know that if I might add Cindy Ginther's comments at this point.
That would be fine.
That would be fine, please.
Okay. Cindy wrote that she has had conversation with ag landowners who personally support eliminating the 10% rule and would like to see smaller ag parcels permissible for new and emerging agricultural uses or for their family uses. These owners have not weighed in here because they were concerned about expressing their opinions. She believes that we do need to allow subdivision of ag land into smaller, that is 20 and larger acre parcels for young agricultural entrepreneurs to start and grow emerging ag businesses, and that subdivision should be allowed as long as the owner keeps the land in ag use. So, and then she noted it's consistent with our comp plan and economic development plan to encourage emerging ag businesses. So, and I think her final note was that she said many of these businesses do not need more than 20 acres. So that was Cindy's comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone
in the room on the task force that would like to make comments? Just raise your hand. Pat?
Pat, wait a minute.
Oh.
I don't think so.
Okay. We're gonna double up, aren't we? Yeah, I did want to make a comment about that, about the 10% rule, and I'm in favor of the recommendation from the staff. I would like to retain the rule. I'm not anxious to see smaller parcels be cut out of larger farm parcels now. Apparently, there are quite a few available around. Okay, they may not be on the market. That doesn't mean we have to cut up the other farms to make so that we have more of these 50 or 30 acre lots. And I think we could do a special exception or whatever the recommendation was on specific cases, not a carte blanche. Okay, everybody can come in and ask for a special a waiver or so, but in specific standards for a waiver should be drafted by the staff, planning commission, or however, as this process moves forward. But I definitely am not in favor of just dropping the 10% rule and just opening up the farms to be cut up in throughout the county.
Thank you, Pat. Anyone else? Joe?
I agree with Mrs. Langenfelder about agreeing with staff support with some regulations to handle the unusual circumstances we run into. I also like the idea, if there is a need to instead of changing the AZD rules, is to look at the rural character district and look to increase it in certain areas, maybe near villages and stuff, as a buffer between large-scale operations. I do have a question for staff. It says Solon Shooter, our consultant, wasn't aware of any similar regs that find that the limit of 10% is low. I guess I'm misunderstanding his part in this. Is that his determination low is what? Or is everyone else high? I guess I'm questioning, is he offering a policy or?
No. No, he's not offering
a
suggestion.
He was just saying that
the maximum percentage
of 10%
is low compared to other policies that he's
aware of,
particularly
without having any kind of incentive.
So for example, Queen Anne's County has two types of subdivisions that have some incentives where you can do a maximum of 15%.
Okay. Okay. I guess the question is the subjectivity of our consultant. I thought he was supposed to say what it is, and it doesn't exist a lot, as opposed to it's low.
He says no, it doesn't exist a lot.
That's true.
And that of places that use some kind of maximum percentage of property can be developed, 10% is low. Most places have a higher percentage as sort of that maximum.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any other questions?
Okay. My question is to the ones who are in favor of keeping the 10% rule. We haven't heard any mention of opposition of the enclave rule, which allows for 1 per 10 density in the ag zone, which allows to. Right now, currently, if you have a 150-acre farm, you can't divide it into 2 75-acre parcels. But if you had a 150-acre farm per the enclave rule, you could put 15 lots right out in the middle of it. To me, that's
10.
more 10. Still, 10 lots. To me, that's much more of a fragmentation, doing it through the enclave rule. But we haven't heard any opposition on that. I'm curious why.
Has it come up in the enclave rule? Everyone's discussed that?
No, we haven't had any specific discussions on the enclave rule.
You have heard.
I'll go with record say I don't like the enclave.
Other comments?
I have several issues with the 10% rule, and I don't mind saying that I am opposed to the 10% rule. And I believe that the task force and Kent County Commissioners need to consider what is best for all landowners and not just a few select landowners. A proper balance is necessary in order to be prepared for the future and changes that may occur for which we may not be aware of today. From my research, there is already 40% plus or minus of the land in Kent County preserved, leaving the remainder of unpreserved land made up of the remaining multiple zoning classifications. I would also contend that another third of the ag land is virtually preserved already by the fact that the land will not perk. As a landowner, I personally do not want a select group of individuals dictating to me and limiting my future or potential on my property that I own and pay taxes on. If the county wants to prevent further development in the ag district, they should consider eliminating the enclave method of subdivision in the ag district. Why has it not been brought up before? That method is much more invasive and damaging to our farmland and open space than does the ability to create large lots of 1 to 30 density. All small farms and large lots in the county are currently being tilled anyway. Would you rather see 2 9-lot enclaves on a 200-acre farm where a farmer has to till around versus seeing potentially 6 smaller working farms? Question. Zoning should be created or formulated based on should not be created based upon property values. It should be based upon opportunity and what is best for all landowners. It is not a requirement to subdivide your property. It is merely an option for landowners. It is a fact that not every farm owner is a practicing farmer, and that not every farm owner meets the criteria to place their farm in preservation and reap the huge monetary benefit of doing so. I do not believe that is fair, and that unfortunate landowners that do not meet criteria for land preservation should have a method by which to sell larger lots to their family or friends for whatever reasons. We have spent a significant amount of time during this task force exercise, speaking and talking about investigating what our neighboring counties and state do and practice. A great deal of emphasis has been placed on conforming to neighboring counties. To my knowledge, there are no other counties in the state who have a 10% rule. Why do we? I believe the state mandates in all but 2 counties that the maximum number of subdivision parcels in the ag zone is 7, regardless of the size. Since being asked to be on this task force, I have been approached by multiple landowners with whom I have either sold farmland to, currently manage their farmland, or consult with. And the general consensus for me has been to delete the 10% rule from the zoning ordinance. They would rather decide for themselves what to do with their land rather than be unreasonably regulated. Numerous other associates in my profession from multiple other local brokers have also expressed the importance of eliminating the 10% rule. We need to strongly consider a zoning ordinance based upon what is best for all county residents and landowners, and not just what's best for a few. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Other comments before we
We'll open it to the public in a moment. Comments from the captain?
Okay.
Okay. We did receive a number of letters, it seems.
Yes.
So
those folks are not here, but I think we received, 5 or 6 letters?
I believe that's correct.
Where folks actually expressed different opinions, and they were very much in favor of maintaining the 10% rule, just for the record. So let's open it up to the public.
You also received a letter from a large farmer earlier on stating that they wish to eliminate that 10%. And I also, in reviewing I'm going to be quite honest with you. In reviewing the 5 letters that we've just received, the 6 letters that you've just received, there's something that just right to me about. They look like they are. Just don't pass the smell test for me.
Let's not talk about the validity of the letters. We're here to talk about the 10% rule. Joe?
Madam Chairman, you commented this letter.
Wait, Joe, we need to get.
Joe, you need, unfortunately.
Can we just leave the
Yes.
phone down there?
Yes.
Yeah, Joe, go to the computer one, and we'll see, turn on the mic, and we'll see what happens. This is the one you gave.
Hello? Can you hear?
Yeah, first off,
Yeah, first off, I think it's unfair to call, we have not called into question any other letters sent in here by anyone, and that is totally unfair.
a lot of
A lot of those letters
are
are responsible, are friends and clients of mine who specifically asked me to help write the letters because they're not proficient in our zoning ordinance.
We
hear from other people, testimony from Mr. Mackey, from Ms. Genther, and Bill about anecdotal evidence of people saying we should eliminate it. If they want to speak, they should, or they should put it in writing. There's no special people there. These are long-term farm owners. They're farmers. All of their farmers have supported it too. Some are here tonight. So I think it's unfair that that go in the record that these do not pass the smell test. Thank you.
Let's open it up to the public for comment on what's the speech. Maybe you could just keep distance, come in front, state your name. About the lady in the picture.
My name is Paula Reeder. I'm a long-term resident of Still Pond, and Holly's probably going to fall off his chair when he hears me say this. I agree completely with Mr. Norris, and I think for good reason. Many of the farms that are in Kent County now are small farms, under 200 acres. Some of them, but not all of them, are subject to the 10% rule. And one of the things that's clear is that the 10% rule doesn't apply equally across the board in the first place. And there are lots of ways to get around it. So as a matter of policy, it doesn't make a lot of sense because it's not applied uniformly in the first place. In the second place, the small farms that exist in Kent County today are struggling economically. And they are because of their size. There are other alternatives for those people who want to farm that, as Bill suggested, don't require the acreage that a 10% rule would otherwise require to prevent people, landowners in Kent County, from taking advantage of those opportunities seems to me to be very short-sighted. And also flies in the face of how agriculture, particularly small farm agriculture, is evolving today. What it requires, what is necessary to sustain it, and what will keep our land in agriculture, even though it may not be 200 acres. And I think we need to wake up to that reality. I also question whether the 10% rule applies to those farms that are taxed on the basis of agricultural use, but have other zoning. It probably, as I read it, allows the owners a great deal of latitude, should they so desire to take advantage of it, to do other things on their property that other people who are not zoned one way and given agricultural use for tax purposes don't enjoy. And I think the county would be well served to look at that issue. At any rate, I strongly urge this group to recommend elimination of the 10% rule and give the flexibility to our farmers and our landowners that they deserve. Thank you.
Other comments? I'm sorry, please come on.
Hi, this is Judy Gifford.
Judy, if you could hold the phone forward and kind of make your comment next.
What was that?
She said, could you hold on and she'll take your comments?
Sure. I'm sorry, I can't hear everything. Happy to. Thank you.
Hi,
I'm Jennifer Debnam, and I am here as a representative of Kent County Farm Bureau, as a member of the Board of Directors. We submitted a letter back in April, and I'd like to read an excerpt of that. Kent County Farm Bureau is a grassroots organization representing the agricultural interests of its nearly 300 members. We are writing to strongly encourage the task force to follow the 2018 comprehensive plan, which recognizes that agriculture is the keystone to Kent County's heritage and its future. Furthermore, this recognition of agriculture's status as the highest and best use for much of the county is an essential tenet of this plan. We also asked that the task force recommend maintaining the current Ag Zone District. Also, as stated in the 2018 comprehensive plan, its retention and viability has always been and will continue to be a top priority for the county land use and other policies. We feel to maintain our industry's viability. We also agree with the strategy on page 43 of the comp plan with the goal of supporting agriculture as the permanent and preferred land use. And that the county intends to allow very limited development in the priority preservation area and is committed to directing growth adjacent to existing neighborhoods, villages, and towns. Additionally, we are concerned with the ability for the public to participate in this process. While technology has offered some access, and I applaud you for the effort, it's been difficult to hear on the phone or to see and hear on Zoom as we're experiencing tonight. So that it does have its limitations. Because there are still COVID restrictions in place and because of lasting implications of these particular policies, we ask that the timeline be extended to allow for greater public input and transparency. Kent County Farm Bureau. Thank you.
All right, Judy,
Okay, thanks. Thank you. So, as you probably guessed, I'm a small farmer, and I want to say that some of us are doing very well. So these blanket statements about small farmers are really rather disingenuous. I work with an organization that works with a lot of beginning farmers, and there's no way they could afford 30 acres at, $10,000 to $15,000 an acre without a house. I mean, where would they even live? So I think that's a bit of a red herring to think that small farmers are going to come over and start farming 20 acres in Kent County. It's just not realistic. So I think that the people who are opposed to the 10% rule are searching for a problem to solve that doesn't exist. So I don't know why they want to change it. I think some of the arguments might be a little disingenuous. And I'd also like to say that Kent County is normally the model zoning county for other counties in the state. And I certainly don't look to Cecil County or Queen Anne's County as a model that we would want to emulate. So I think that when we think about the 10% rule, I think special exceptions, or however they're going to phrase it, is the way to solve some of these problems that have arise when there's an estate problem. But to change it wholeheartedly just so beginning farmers can come over here is just really not a great argument for making a change in our zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Judy. Please.
Some of you may know who I am. My name's John Myers, Jr. I am a born native of this county. I may get a little emotional, but I'll try to keep it together. I am in support of this maintaining the 10% rule or even lowering it to a lesser amount. A little background to understand where I'm coming from. I was the one made it initially able for this county to establish the ag preservation. I was the first landowner on the entire Delmarva to sell easement on the ag preservation. comments have been made that large sums of money are being profited from selling of those easements. That is not why we did it. We did it to preserve the agriculture and to prevent nuisance lawsuits. Agreeably, some have in later years received large amounts of money. Some 10 times the amount of what I received by the acre. And good for them. I have no ill feelings about that. Good. I'm glad they did. The notion of splitting up the farms to create more farms, unless it's Amish group moving in to do that and farm like that, they're the only ones that have been capable of doing such activity. Anyone else, it's being subdivided for development purposes down the road. I've been fortunate enough through the years growing up, through my involvement with education, shortly after I got out of school, traveling in the state of Maryland. I've seen the rural areas of this state. I've seen the zoning changes. I've seen the disappearance of agriculture, the disappearance of farms in all the states around, our counties around. You take that into effect. King County, we are a rural county. Our last comprehensive plan, when it was sent to the state sent it back to us. Said it was unacceptable, that they wanted more development. So they called all our advisory boards in for a special meeting. The county planner told what the state told us. And one of the members of one of the committees asked us, do we have to change it? And her response was, no, we can keep it the same. Collectively, all the boards agreed, advisory boards, all of them, to keep that plan and resubmit it to the state to protect. Our goal was 87% of King County. Supposedly we have 38-40% reserve now. I guess it's between the three different organizations of MAL, Rural Legacy, and Historic Trust. That's a good start. When you take into account our three leading industries in this county is the aquatic and water, whether it's recreational or seafood industry. That's one. Another is agriculture, and the other is the hunting industry. The hunting industry, if all money was counted and all the money that gonna spend while they're here, it is the leading. You allow agriculture to disappear in this county, you will lose the gunning. And that will be the golden egg that keeps this county afloat, is the gunning. That is our huge resource for money and jobs in this county. And then will we become nothing but a bedroom community, with all jobs being outside the county other than service jobs of electricians, plumbers, carpenters, mechanics. That will be the only jobs left in this county. We need to maintain agriculture. We need to maintain the farms intact, not carve them up. Carving them up is just going to be a down road to lead us to where Middletown is now, Ken Island is here now, Northern Cecil County is in now. There is no more agriculture in those areas. And their way of life is completely changed. People come here because they want this way of life. They come here with their boats on the weekends because they want to enjoy being around the shore of a county that's not all developed with houses all the way up and down the shoreline. And the same way with Gunner. There's a lot of hunters come here and they buy houses, they buy property. Because it's rural and they hunt. Those houses sometimes only are used 3 months of the year. So in my support is to keep the county rural, to keep the county very limited on development in the agricultural land. There are sufficient properties and subdivisions in around the incorporated towns and already subdivided properties to allow for what development is necessary. Thank you.
Janet.
Janet Christensen Lewis, Millington farmer. As you can well imagine, I would be strongly opposed to withdrawing the 10% rule. I think that the county planning department has come up with clear indication that there's lots of lots available. I think to Paula Reeder's point that small farms are struggling, I don't know if that's true or not, but certainly if small farms are struggling, why would we want to make more small farms? It doesn't seem to make very much sense. And in terms of agricultural assessment, taxing assessment, the rules of the state are quite clear. Kent County has no jurisdiction over that, and it doesn't matter what zone you are in. If you're doing what the state says, if you have 20 acres, or if you're next to a farm and you're associated with that farm and it's only 5 acres, you can still have agricultural assessments. It doesn't, that is not something governed by Kent County. And then finally, the way that agriculture stays strong is by allowing, we saw what happened up in Middletown, Delaware. We saw the farms break down. We've seen the exodus of the support systems that are happening up there, and we're seeing that it's difficult for farmers in that county to continue. The exact same thing, and even worse, has happened in Howard County and to some extent in Montgomery County, even though they have a reserve. One of the things in the comprehensive plan that has never been addressed or looked at by economic development or anyone in this county is that Montgomery County has a program that helps young farmers and farmers that have immigrant farmers get onto land. They set up leases and they have an entire program. They have something like 90 small farms in Montgomery County. We have never even broached that, and that is the way that small and beginning farmers can get onto the land. They can lease the land through the programs that Montgomery County has, and it's an incredibly successful program. I would highly recommend, if we're worried about bringing in young farmers to Kent County, that be the way that we go, instead of trying to divide up the land. I will speak to the enclave rule. It's never come up here before, but I would be in favor of changing it. So, thank you.
Other comments? David?
David Hill, Chairman of Kent County Agriculture Preservation Committee. I would say I'm in favor of what staff recommends, that the 10% rule not be removed. I think it can be solved on a lot of things through special exceptions. I think we have more than enough lots in this county that are available. It might not be what somebody wants, it might not be what they want. People come to this county for the sense of agricultural community, enjoy what we have to offer, what's here. Breaking it into small farms, I'll be honest, economics, I don't see how they can do it. Being an alternate on the appeals board, I remember one case we had come in front of us. I'm sitting there looking at his figures. Small farm wants to start. I can tell he's not going to make it, but that's not my decision. I just don't see where that's going to benefit the community. I think leaving the 10% in place and it's being decided through appeals or special exceptions or hardships, look at it on a case-to-case basis.
Okay. Other comments from the public?
Frank Lewis, farmer here in Kent County. I would speak strongly in favor of retaining the 10% rule because it's one of the cardinal elements of the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinances which have preserved agriculture in this county. Kent County has more agricultural land at 75 or 76% than any other county in Maryland. The nearest is Queen Anne's at about 66%. All other counties are below 50. The reason it's been preserved is because of the long-term vision of the people who started writing zoning regulations back in the 70s and 80s, and trying to piecemeal ordinances which allow the land to be cut up into smaller formats and others is simply a way to destroy the possibility of large-scale agriculture continuing. A large part of the attraction of Kent County for people who come here for second homes, for tourism, certainly for hunting, as was already emphasized, is because of the open landscape and the continuation of landscape, which is fundamentally not greatly changed over 100, 200 years. The historical landscape here is more tuned in that way to preservation of agricultural land than any other part of the state. And if we start cutting it up and adopting ordinances that progressively eliminate the controls on that, we're just simply going to see that further away. So I strongly oppose that. I think we should maintain it the way it is, and I support the staff recommendations. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else from the public? Gentlemen in the back. Gentlemen in the back.
My name is Gary Miller. I'm for the 10% rule. First thing, I don't want all the people. We work hard to keep the farm now just without the 10% rule. So I'm against the 10% rule. I don't have all this other data to tell you. I can tell you a lot of stuff, but I've just voted against the 10% rule.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair?
Yep. Yes, Bill.
I believe there may be a caller online who would like to make a comment.
Okay, I'll come back. And just for anyone that's thinking about this, we'll just hold our break until after our discussion. Please.
Good evening. My name is Adam Blitzer, and I oppose the elimination of the 10% rule. Farms are jobs, both direct and indirect. It's important that we maintain them. The supply chain around farms is important, and these smaller 10% breakoffs will not be able to maintain and sustain the direct and indirect jobs that are in our ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can't see you, but if we have someone,
Can I speak?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Can I please give a comment over the phone?
Sure.
Thank you. My name is Sarah Romanek, and thank you for having me to speak with you all this evening. I'm representing the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy. We recently submitted a letter to the county commissioners and Mr. Mackey regarding changes to your 10% rule. Eastern Shore Land Conservancy strongly supports the continuation of Kent County's strong land use ordinance, especially the 10% rule. We strongly oppose the rescission of the 10% rule. Long-term agricultural strength requires strong land preservation programs and strong underlying zoning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much, Sarah. Anyone else on the phone that I overlooked?
This is Michael Wooten.
Please go ahead.
Hi, I'd like to comment that I'm in favor of keeping the 10% rule with so many other ordinances we have in the county, perhaps special exceptions or waivers of some kind for estate planning events or situations that are, unique. Certainly would allow for the possibility of something being taken care of, along with keeping it open and transparent to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Comments from anyone that hasn't already spoken. All right. Hearing or seeing none, Billy, your comments?
I just wanted to, question or ask about the numbers here of undeveloped lots in the county, and that if you think, as a resident of the county, that we have a tremendous amount of undeveloped buildable lots, I think you're wrong. Whatever the number is that's been presented here by the staff, I would imagine that includes a tremendous amount of lots, small unbuildable lots down in Colchester Estates as well as Chesapeake Land. So if you count all those, and then you try to figure out, as a realtor for 38 years here, I'll tell you, longer than anybody else been selling real estate, that there is not an abundance of buildable lots. There is not an abundance of any kind of situation that these numbers say. That's not correct. What's available. So if you want to if you look into the research and you look at how that was formulated, and I'm not 100% sure, but there are not that many buildable lots. There's a difference between a buildable lot and an unbuildable lot. And the facts that I gave in my talk was pretty much on here. So we've already got a tremendous amount of property in this county preserved. So I don't think that it's fair to make an assessment of what we have here based upon those numbers.
Carla, do you have any on the analysis of the map for us? Hello?
This is Carla. There was a question raised about some of the data that was presented in the staff report. The first thing I'd like to say is that this is not a representation of buildable lots. This is a representation of unimproved parcels. And it does. I did take away the unimproved lots that are in subdivisions and communities. Those weren't the ones that were under consideration. These are the parcels. I specifically called out using State Department of Assessment and Taxation data. Parcels that have a land use of agricultural, and I agree with you, Mr. Norris, that not all of those 520 parcels, I agree, not all of them would be buildable, not all of them may be tillable, but I would argue that a fair representation of them probably are. We were just trying to raise the issue that you say there aren't lots available. In reviewing subdivision plats over the last couple of weeks, I came across a fair number of people who had done subdivisions and have never sold or developed those lots that they created. So those are lots that did have approved perk sites because the health department signed off on the subdivision, and they are sitting there. I think this is not meant to be sort of end-all be-all data. This is just to give an example that there is some supply out there that is not being utilized and is probably not being sold for a variety of reasons. And I think the next discussion we're going to have does get a little bit to ways that might allow people to do some additional subdivision. And in this review of the 10% rule, we have put forward a way to allow flexibility in lots. So. For those who may be having trouble, is there anybody else on the phone who wants to comment? Yes.
And I just simply want to say that I also do not support losing the...
Elizabeth, if you're on speakerphone, we can't hear you. Okay. Will you try again?
Can you hear me now?
Not really. If you talk slowly, I'll try to repeat what you're saying.
I simply want to say that I support keeping the 10% rule. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, it is 7:11.
This is domination. If we want to keep agriculture in Kent County, I think we've got to eliminate the 10% rule. There's several cases. I had a personal case. I mean, we have a dairy farm, and we were trying to buy 40 acres of a farm, and we were not allowed to do it because the 10% rule in the farm for nutrient management. So it essentially hurt an established farmer. There's also a case right now where there's two brothers that want to divide 160 acre farm. Each of them take 80 acres. Which, when you stop and think about it, they are actually downsizing. They could build 5 lots, 1 to 30 on that 160. Now they're only going to have 4. So I don't see how that's bad. The other thing is, I don't think it's our preview to say what someone if their business plan is where a small farmer can't make. That's not what we should be deciding in Kent County. If a person wants to put up 2 greenhouses and grow hydroponic tomatoes, he doesn't want 100 acres land. He wants 20 acres, 30 acres, and he should have the right to do that. But we discourage that here in the county. And when we look at our preserved land, this doesn't involve any of those people. They're not going to divide that because it's already preserved. So I think I'm right on these figures. There's about 51,000 acres of our 117 acres of agricultural land that are already preserved. So this 10% rule is not affecting them. It's affecting the rest of the people. And I just feel if I have a child that wants to buy 20 acres off my farm, he should be allowed to do that. If the family, and whether it's generational or first generation, they should have the right to be able to continue farming if they want to. If you try to buy 100 acres, a lot of times they don't have the money. They can't get the money to do it. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what this 10% rule is. You're not going to see. First thing, you got to have a landowner that wants to sell it. Landowner still doesn't have to sell it. So, and I would like to comment on this in Cecil County. There's more farms in northern Cecil County now than there were 20 years ago. Now that is basically because of the Amish. But it has. Agriculture in northern Cecil County is stronger than it has ever been. And here we have no supply. If you want supplies to farm, you have to go to Pennsylvania and get most of them, or they come down to you. And that's because of some of these rules that we have that have just, they're essentially destroying our agriculture here in Kent County.
No, we're gonna break. If there's anyone else that hasn't spoken, please, let's hear from you now. All right, let's take a break. It's 7:15. How about we take a 5-minute break? Started late, we'll just resume at 7:20. Please keep in mind if the microphones are working, that everyone will be able to possibly hear you. So you might want to mute or.
Planning and zoning is one, and then there's another bunch of layers that are on. Anything that's probably the agricultural.
So people get distorted. It's true. You don't know what you go in there and you got all this stuff. It should be.
It should be, but it's not. You have to prove it. Urban is money, what I'm talking about.
48.
You were told us.
I think what should be.
I think what's said about but I want to build cars,
And they're taking
and they're taking me to park. One of my children paid to rent cars, so I said, they're not. So I'm going to start agreeing. I'm going to have to say, well,
He wants to
go that way. I think agree. A little bit.
Sorry, Carla. If you could hear me, can everyone I think I need a whip.
They don't flash easily.
If you can hear me, okay. For anyone on the phone, we are, we're going to continue. All right, so we're moving forward in our agenda here. With the reset of AZD to allow building sites to 1 unit per 30 acres. Carla, is this you presenting for us? Let me give you a phone.
Thank you. So this is a request that would start the count of density with the approval of a new zoning ordinance. Density of one dwelling unit per 30 acres would not change. It would just reset the date from when we start counting those subdivisions. And again, this is the one unit per 30 acre density is something that was adopted with the 1989 zoning ordinance. There was a significant downzoning with that ordinance, and we have carried forward that density. And at the last comprehensive rezoning, that group recommended and the commissioners approved a decision that the date of density determination would remain August 1st, 1989. So 1989 was sort of a significant change in zoning in the county, and then we've kind of this current ordinance is an update of that 1989 ordinance. Again, in sort of doing that subdivision plat review, just a couple of statistics that since August 1st, 1989, over 300 new lots have been created in just the agricultural zoning district through more than 200 applications. At least 30 of the new lots were created with a provision in the prior zoning ordinance that allowed parcels less than 60 acres to be subdivided once as long as both parcels could meet the minimum lot size. That provision was not included in this current land use ordinance. And then another 20, approximately 20 other landowners have used their allowable density, and those are mostly the smaller 6,100 acre parcels where there were only 1 to 3 development rights anyway. So they cut one lot off and they may have used up all of their allowable density. Staff is recommending that the date of determining density remain August 1st, 1989. However, similar to the previous discussion, we would suggest consideration of another waiver process that would be granted by the Planning Commission to allow additional density or subdivisions up to 7 lots, which it would be 6 lots plus a remainder, taken off of the property since December 23rd, 1969. That's based on how we count the distinction between minor subdivisions and major subdivisions. Major subdivisions get planning commission review, require access to public roads. There are a few other additional standards. And that the waiver would allow a case-by-case review of a request for additional density. Possible reasons could include additional lots for family members. There might be some properties that have constraints, such as slopes, as wetlands that limit their agricultural use, but that are still areas suitable for home sites. So the Planning Commission could review and make a determination is additional density on that property, sort of in keeping with all of the other regulations in the comprehensive plan. One of the reasons that staff is concerned about resetting the date of density determination has to do with the septic tier law that was passed by the state of Maryland in 2012, which prohibits major subdivisions on private septic in what are known as Tier 4 areas. And Tier 4 areas are those lands that have predominantly agricultural or forest use, which in our case is essentially all of the agricultural zoning district and the resource conservation district. So if that exemption is taken away, then major subdivisions in Tier 4 areas would be prohibited. So following the adoption of a new land use ordinance, we will have to reapply for this exemption, and we are one of 3 counties in the entire state who has been granted such sort of reprieve from some of those restrictions. And the Maryland Department of Planning will have to verify that any new subdivision and zoning requirements result in a yield of not more than 1 dwelling unit per 20 acres. And that sort of having that exemption means that their landowners have a lot more flexibility because they're on some of our larger properties, it's very easy to get up to being a major subdivision, and they still have density potential left, but if it's major subdivision and we don't have that exemption, then even if they have development potential available, we wouldn't be able to let them use it.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Carla. Let's open it up for discussion. Task force members on the phone that would like to comment. Bill, Tyler. Cindy, anyone? Okay. Task force members present that would like to comment? Pat, please.
This is Pat Langenfeld, for those of you on the phone. I am against resetting the subdivisions on farms and allowing more houses or to be built where currently they would not be allowed. The comprehensive plan states that agriculture is viewed as a permanent and preferred land use. And also, care must be taken to prevent conflicting land uses from locating in designated farming areas. Rather, residential, commercial, and industrial uses must be strategically located in and around existing towns and villages. This, along with the one we just, the 10% rule we just talked about, is like playing a game of Jenga. We have these building blocks up here. Now you're going to rip out one, and then you're going to bring up this one, you're going to rip out this one, and the whole damn agricultural community is going to collapse. I lived in Howard County. We farmed in Howard County. One of the previous speakers mentioned Howard County and how there is no agriculture there. The wise county commissioners back in the day decided, oh, this would be wonderful that we go ahead and have open up the ag area and open it up to 5-acre lots. Because nobody in their right mind is going to buy 5-acre lots. Nobody. Have you driven in Howard County lately? Yeah, they did the 5-acre, then they downsized it to 3. Now they're down to 1 acre, where all the castles are all over the place on 1-acre lots. Because they have totally destroyed agriculture in that county. Totally. I was just there the other day on a farm, one of the remaining farms. A nice farm. Cattle farm, crop farm, totally surrounded. It's an island in a sea of houses. And don't say that by allowing this to happen, we'll never see that in Kent County. Don't believe it. We're awfully close to Philadelphia. We're very close to Baltimore. And they will come, just like that baseball field out in Iowa. They will come. So don't tear up the agriculture that this land use ordinance has protected. We came to Kent County because of the strong zoning we had here. Everybody welcomed farming with open arms. And they said, we're well protected, and we are. But with playing this game of taking the underpinning out of our agricultural statutes, you're going to destroy agriculture as you see it. And you're inviting building lots. Oh, it's for my children. But golly, Ned, your children someday are going to sell the damn lot to somebody else when they want to build a house somewhere else. When you sell to somebody a lot, there's no constraint that has to stay in the family forever on your farm. That's all I have to say.
Other comments from task force members? Okay, Buck, please.
I'd just like to say that I'm against resetting of the rules. I think it creates a lot of confusion. Are we going to just reset ag? Or are we going to do the other zones as well? I just think it's a bad idea all the way around.
Thank you, Buck. Joe.
Thank you. I also agree it's a bad idea to reset. Particularly, it's unfair to when property owners buy or own land. We have a wonderful ag preservation program, been very successful in this county. And when you buy land now, if it's lost, you buy it and it's effectively preserved because there's no development rights, you know that when you buy it. If it's good farmland, it won't impact the value. But it's unfair to have those people get their density reset and compete against people who are trying. And I'm stacking up. We have how many people in line for ag land preservation with limited funds. It would seem unfair to reset the density on other farms that may eventually rank higher. And I agree with Buck and Mr. Langford. Thank you.
I'd just like to say that I agree with Buck on the confusion that it could possibly bring for the other zoning districts that we have. Thank you.
Anyone in the public would like to comment? Janet.
It's hard for me to imagine why we'd want to do this. I think one of the main complaints and the biggest cost analysis when you look at the county where they're losing money, is on water and sewer. So why would you want to take the county, break up farming, and allow more housing out in the agricultural areas where they would use septic? And it is not an area where the sewer is ever going to run, at least until everybody gets their way and the whole area is developed, and then you can put sewer there. It seems like a totally, if you're looking at long-range planning, you would, if you needed to do something to increase the number of lots, it goes back to the first thing, that you would take the areas that are rural character and rural residential close in, and that's where the development would happen. I mean, that's what we talk about, what the comprehensive plan talks about and what the state talks about when we talk about smart zoning, smart housing. It's not to create little individual parcels out in the farmland so that, you know, somebody can have their child have a parcel. Fine, if they want to do that, but as Ms. Langenfelder has stated, that can be sold in the future, and it won't be your child living on that property. So I'm totally against a reset. And the state in the analysis would come down pretty hard on Kent County. So I think that's been pointed out adequately. Thank you.
Anyone else like to comment on this particular topic? Okay, that was easy. I lost Carlos Jones.
Okay. So our last topic for discussion is adding agritourism as defined by the state of Maryland as a permitted use in AZD. And once again, I will turn it over to Carla.
This is Mark tonight.
Oh, Mark. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mark, do you want to sit here and because that microphone works occasionally with the phone?
Yeah, my voice
is not so
large,
so maybe I'll
try that.
try that.
Yes,
Good evening.
There's been
a request to add agritourism as defined by the state of Maryland as permitted use in the agricultural zoning district. This particular presentation of reports is split into two portions. You'll see that there's an A and a B. These, addressing whether or not weddings could be added as special exceptions. We add that in this report because oftentimes weddings are perceived to be part of agritourism, so we want to address it during this portion. Current land use ordinance does not specify or specifically address agritourism as a separately defined use, but is permitted. Requests have been made to add this definition to presented by the state of Maryland as permitted use in the agricultural zoning district. On May 15th, 2018, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan signed House Bill 252, establishing a model definition for agritourism in the land use article for county governments to adopt, if they should so choose, through their respective legislative processes. Another definition is as follows: an activity, and you'll see that I've highlighted activity because it's an important term, conducted on a farm that is offered to a member of the general public or invited guest for the purpose of education, recreation, or active involvement in the farm operation. This may include farm tours, hay rides, corn mazes, seasonal petting farms, farm museums, guest farms. You'll see that I've provided a definition for what guest farms are, because I was asked in the original question. Pumpkin patches, pick your own or pet your own produce, classes related to
products or skills, and picnic and party facilities offered in conjunction with any agritourism activity. So that's the state model definition. For comparative purposes, the National Agricultural Law Center defines agritourism as a form of commercial enterprise. You see that I've highlighted commercial enterprise, making it distinct from the state, which refers to as an activity that links agricultural production and or processing with tourism in order to attract visitors onto a farm, ranch, or other agricultural business for the purpose of entertaining and or educating the visitors and generating income for the farm, ranch, or business owner. In a comparative review of agritourism sponsored by McHenry County, they noted that with the increasing pressure, encroachment of residences on them, it is leading to new diversification of the rural economy, offering the opportunity to enhance the economic potential of the agricultural land. It also poses the challenge of how to regulate these activities while protecting the core agricultural, natural, and scenic assets of these lands, along with the residential communities that surround them. The 2018 Kent County Comprehensive Plan includes the following strategies to support agriculture as a permanent and preferred land use strategy for Kent County as an agriculturally friendly county. The county will promote itself as an agriculturally friendly place with its land use policies as well as economic and tourism development efforts, which I've highlighted. There's no one kind of agriculture the county intends to support. Agriculture is a changing industry, and farmers need to be able to change and adapt to stay in business. With an ethic for stewardship for our lands and waters guiding decisions, the county will continue to support all types of agricultural operations. The land use ordinance, the intent of the AGD, as stated, is to encourage the use of agricultural land for farming and other agricultural businesses, and to limit the use of these lands for non-agricultural purposes. In addition, the district will farm, home, education, cottage industries that are compatible with agriculture as a means to further diversify the county's economy. Although not stated within the text associated with the intent of the AGD, the term farm-based business may be relevant and is combined with the land use ordinance as follows: family-run business, accessory and secondary to the primary agricultural use of the property, which I've also highlighted. Farm-based business does not interfere with on-site or adjacent farm operations that does not generate large volumes of traffic. The American Planning Association, addressing the challenges to traditional farming economies, which include approaching development, rising costs, and falling prices, recognizes the usefulness of diversifying into agricultural tourism, such as direct marketing of products, as well as attracting visitors to on-site recreation, education, and involvement in farm activities. Most agritourism ordinances limit such activities to accessory uses that support and promote working farms to avoid commercial development towards recreational facilities incompatible with rural character and that can undermine the viability of agricultural operations. With increasing popularity of barn or rustic weddings, efforts to include such activities as agritourism have met with resistance from neighbors and jurisdictional administrators, and jurisdictions that do allow them on farms do so as special events or conditional use, which I'll discuss in Part B. Maryland's newly offered model definition is unmandated. Counties in Maryland have defined agritourism in various manners and include this in the last page of this report. From these examples, as well as from the agritourism definition stated above, four considerations come to light. The first is intensity, and by intensity I mean intensity of demand for agritourism within those areas, including proximity to clients, so if you're closer to urban area, more people come visit. Direct marketing, nearby destination sites, which can serve as additional attractions for bringing people, and ease of access to those sites. The second intensity is use, which includes the frequency, how often they come, the number of people that might come for each particular event, and the allowed portion of the property that could be designated for this kind of use. The second is enterprise focus, and this is clearly defining agritourism as income-generating activities. As I pointed out earlier, the state does not. The National Association of NALC defines it as income generating. Accessory role, this is whether it's clearly states that it serves as an accessory function to agritourism with that activity, or it's not such a strongly stated statement. And scope of services, which is a variety of things that can occur. under the guise or the definition of agritourism. The following table, I'm sorry for complexity, is for comparative of different counties and how they're engaging in agritourism that's occurring in the respective areas. I think what's important to take from this is define the way the paragraph of code. 5 items. Counties with lower portions of their land and farms have greater share of small farms and generally higher average agritourism earnings per operation. Those counties with larger portions of their land and farms generally have greater numbers of agritourism operations. The third is emphasizing commerce, and the definition of agritourism does not strongly correlate with the larger average agritourism earnings per operation. The fourth is counties with larger emphasis on tourism promotion have the best average agritourism earnings per operation, and it is specifically points to Montgomery County. Fifth is higher average agritourism earnings per operation are not strongly correlated with the scope of service, the variety of things that we could do there. I do relate all these to the average earnings per operation. There are other metrics, but this was the most available. So regarding the applicability of these considerations in Kent County, reflecting the higher portion of farmland, the greater number of larger farms, and the lower ratio of average agritourism income per operator, the intensities of demand and use are the lowest of the above examples. Because of this, basically geography, lower population density, greater distance and difficulties of access from major urban centers, and limited number of additional destination attractions. The consideration of strength of enterprise focus, low support to on-site agricultural production, the scope of service, and service platforms are integrated in our recommendation. First of all, in regards to enterprise focus, the Kent County Comprehensive Plan includes economic and tourism development efforts as part of its strategy to promote itself as an agriculturally friendly county. That goal is indicated in the above comparative analysis, is not impacted by whether activity is described as commercial. As far as an accessory role, clear statement within a definition of agritourism that such an activity be related to agriculture and incidental or accessory to the primary agricultural operations on site is in alignment with the intent of the AZD. In regards to scope of service, the assumption behind this is that such lands which are rural and remote be utilized for hunting, fishing, and wildlife viewing, which is our county. Given the rural nature of Kent County, the scope of allowable activities that preserve open space is in alignment with the comprehensive plan. Therefore, staff recommendations recommends adoption of the Maryland State model definition of agritourism with modifications that reflect the conditions of Kent County, which I put underneath. Agritourism can be defined as activities conducted on a farm and offered to the public or to invited groups for the purpose of education, recreation, or active involvement in the farm operations. These activities must be related to agriculture or natural resources and incidental to the primary operation on the site. This sentence is an added portion. The term shall include hay rides, corn mazes, seasonal petting farms, pumpkin patches, own or pet your own, classes related to agricultural products, skills, harvest festivals, field trips, farm tours, farm museums, etc. Almost a complete replication of what the state offers with some additions extracted from some of the other definitions from other counties. This includes food services, including farm-to-table meals, fishing, hunting, wildlife study, activities or events related to agriculture, natural resources, agricultural products, or agricultural skills. Thank you. Okay.
The table is included, there's 2 copies here that included data from Excel. Is all the data from Excel or just the
No, it's only those 2 columns of the 2012. The others are from 2009. Yeah.
Okay. Comments from the task force members on the phone? Anyone on the phone? Task force member? Comments from task force members in the room? Okay.
I actually have a question. the recommendation is to adopt this, definition, nothing about parameters or frequency or how often, like an oversight. If somebody wants to have agritourism on their farm, will there not have to be some kind of, particularly, because of traffic and things like that, there's no, restrictions or waivers or special exceptions to be written?
As written, no, but it would be something that we could require site plan review to do. And
Okay,
I think will you repeat that I said it would require site plan review?
Oh,
That's
I'm
okay.
Sorry. Carla just said that it might have a site plan review in order to be allowed to have the agritourism. Thank you.
Any other council members wishing to comment? Oh, we've gone downhill from there. Public comment. Anyone on the phone? About members,
My name's John Myers. I have some comments and questions. They want to dissect every little thing of what is going to be tourism or not, to my understanding. Define it, okay. Now, is this, you're talking about on AZD ground, the farm community. Now, is it a difference between farm community, ag land, ag preservation, legacy, historic trust? All of them going to be permitted to do these agritourism, or is there going to be restrictions from the mouth and different ones that we cannot participate in this?
We'll let Carla respond.
So I know for some of Mouth, for example, does have a uses policy that would allow certain agritourism related opportunities. So if there is a farm in preservation that wants to do ag tourism, then as we would do now, we would check with the easement holder to see if there are any restrictions or other review that the easement holder would require, as well as county review.
We went in, it was very restricted.
Yes, Mouth was very restrictive when the program first began, and over the years has developed a policy that does allow a certain amount of ag tourism related activities, or what would be considered ag tourism under this definition. There are some parameters on the amount of parking you can have, or the percentage of product that has to be raised on that farm. So like I said, you would have to meet both sets of standards.
Of course, the reason I'm asking is that we've had several people speak to me personally concerning our operation to do promotions. One is a fellow dairy processor in Western Maryland. He has an open house day where they have vendors come in and food trucks, and it promotes the farm all the way around. They also do that, and I've had other individuals approach me that have an Airbnb. They would like to have use of our animals to do what they call promoted animal time interaction. They could have an animal at the location for 2 or 3 hours for them to handle and play with. The agritourism is very important. Even with our Maryland Guernsey Association, our biggest fundraiser in the past was allowing the public to milk a cow at the Mooney Fairground. It was people stood in line for hours to milk a cow or get that experience to the farm. And with the disconnect of agriculture in the general public today, we need more of this, of the interaction between the agriculture community and the public. For years, we have done school trips to kindergarten and lower grades that would come and tour our farm and experience a dairy farm. I guess now we almost need permission to do that.
I wanted to clarify that ag tourism activities are currently allowed in the county. What we are trying to do with this definition is to clarify what we mean by ag tourism and allow landowners to have a certain amount of certainty that it is permitted without having to come and ask us, you know, is such and such allowed? And for certain types of uses, we've done temporary use permits. There have been a couple people who have done corn mazes in like October for fundraisers for other organizations, and they came and got a temporary. There's a permitted use for like temporary fairgrounds or carnival uses, so you can come get a use permit to do that. There is currently a permitted use for the structures for the buying, processing, and sale of agriculture products. And as a permitted use, it's not animals, and you can get special permission to include animal products. So, as everybody knows, there are wineries that are operating in Kent County that have tasting rooms. Those are permitted. We're just trying to add some additional clarity, so if somebody looks at our ordinance, they know without having to come to us and go, is such and such allowed?
Thank you. I encourage also to make sure it's included in this with trying to specifically identify things that the gunning and hunting, because it's always perceived as being part of agriculture, but really it's a recreation and a way of life more than it is agriculture. So they should be protected and made available on the lands because it is a high value commodity. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Someone grab.
It is. You feel like a game show for something? Okay. So I think we will, Mark, we will save, part B for our next meeting, since it's 8 o'clock. We want to adjourn on time. We like to keep on time. So if anyone, hopefully no one disagrees that we end at 8 o'clock. And I would just ask, as we, you know, as the pandemic continues to evolve, please be patient with us as our meeting format could change. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. We will continue to meet here, masked and distanced until we hear otherwise. And we certainly invite anyone who's uncomfortable to please join us on the phone or through Teams if you can.
So thank
you all very much for attending this evening.
Kim, we might want to see if Mr. Mackey has any.
Oh, sorry, Bill.
Oh, sorry, Bill. You've been so quiet.
Would you like to add
anything?
Madam Chair, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
I appreciate that. And in lieu of time, I see that we're very short. We wanted to talk a little bit about some of the results of the census, and we'll schedule that for next meeting. There's been some changes, and I think they are pertinent to some of the conversations we're having. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, crazy.